By the time Amara Kessington realized the car was wrong, the doors were already locked. Rain hammered against the bulletproof glass as the black sedan pulled away from the hospital curb. The partition between her and the driver remained firmly closed. She shifted in the leather seat, exhaustion momentarily giving way to a spike of adrenaline as her eyes found the figure beside her, a man in an impeccable suit, watching her with the stillness of a predator. "You're not my driver," she said, voice steadier than she felt. The man studied her for 3 silent seconds. "No," he agreed. "I'm not." Amara Kessington realized too late that she wasn't in a ride home. If you're new here, welcome to our channel where we bring you the most captivating stories you won't find anywhere else. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and notification bell right now so you don't miss our weekly uploads. Now let's dive back into today's intense story. The hospital's automatic doors had barely closed behind her when the downpour began. 14 hours into what was supposed to be a 12-hour trauma shift, Amara had stumbled toward the curb, fumbling with her dead phone. The black sedan had been waiting exactly where her rideshare usually stopped. Same model, same time, same rain-slicked appearance. A mistake anyone could make, if they were bone-tired enough to miss the warning signs. The interior smelled of leather and something sharper. Sandalwood, perhaps? Or danger. Amara's fingers found the door handle, but it wouldn't budge. "Child lock," the man said, voice like polished stone. "A precaution." Amara's training kicked in. Assess the situation, identify the variables, determine the safest course of action. The driver hadn't turned around. The partition remained up. The man beside her hadn't moved an inch closer. "You have options," he continued, eyes never leaving her face. "You can scream, which would force my driver to take alternative measures. Or you can remain calm for 20 minutes while I complete my journey. After which, you can exit and go wherever you please." "And why would I trust that?" Amara asked, calculating the odds of breaking reinforced glass with her elbow. The corner of his mouth twitched, not quite a smile. "Because if I wanted to harm you, I wouldn't be explaining your options." The streetlights outside painted stripes across his face, revealing features cut from marble. High cheekbones, eyes darker than the night around them, a jaw that could have been chiseled from stone. Korean, she guessed, maybe mid-30s. Expensive watch. No visible weapons, but that meant nothing. "I'm Kang Jae-hoon," he said, as if it should mean something. It didn't, but the way he said it, like an admission of guilt, made Amara's spine stiffen. "You're in my territory now, Amara Kessington." He pronounced her name with perfect enunciation. Black Glass District isn't kind to strangers after midnight. The car slid through streets increasingly unfamiliar, buildings growing more dilapidated, windows more frequently boarded up. They passed figures huddled in doorways, neon signs blurring in the rain. "How do you know my name?" Amara asked, keeping her voice neutral. Jae-hoon didn't answer immediately. Instead, he pressed a button, and a hidden compartment revealed a small refrigerator. He removed a bottle of water, broke the seal, and offered it to her. "Your hospital ID," he said simply, nodding toward the badge still clipped to her scrubs. A lie. The badge showed only A. Kessington. Amara accepted the water, but didn't drink. "You didn't look at my badge." Something flickered across his face, not surprise, but perhaps appreciation. "No," he agreed. "I didn't." The car turned down a narrow street where warehouses loomed like sleeping giants. Amara felt exhaustion washing over her again, the adrenaline spike fading as quickly as it had come. She fought to keep her eyes open, her mind sharp. "You can sleep," Jae-hoon said, misreading her struggle. "I don't let witnesses walk away." Amara's eyes snapped to his. "Is that a threat?" "An observation," he replied. Then, after a pause, "And a promise." The car slowed, turning into an underground garage beneath what appeared to be an abandoned factory. As they descended into darkness, Jae-hoon spoke again. "I know who you are, Nurse Kessington. Level 2 Trauma Center, top of your class, 3 commendations for critical interventions. 1 brother, Elijah, hospitalized last year with complications from sickle cell disease." The precise knowledge of her family made Amara's blood run cold. "What do you want from me?" The car stopped. The interior lights remained off. "I have a business proposition," Jae-hoon said. "My organization requires medical expertise that can't be found through traditional channels." "I'm not for hire," Amara replied immediately. "Everyone has a price," he countered, Yours is particularly interesting. And what might that be? Safety, he said simply. For you. For Elijah. For the patients who come through my clinic's doors. The driver's door opened and closed. Footsteps circled the vehicle. If you refuse, you'll be driven wherever you wish to go. You'll never see me again. Jae-hoon's voice dropped lower. But I'll see you, every day, every night, every moment you think you're alone. Amara's door opened. Rain poured in, along with the smell of rust and salt. Or, Jae-hoon continued, you work at my clinic 3 nights a week. You treat whoever comes through those doors. No questions, no records. In return, you receive protection and compensation beyond what Port Serene General could ever offer. You want me to patch up criminals, Amara said, cutting through his careful wording. I want you to save lives, he corrected. Some belong to criminals, others to people who can't risk hospitals for various reasons. And if I refuse? Jae-hoon's expression didn't change. Then step out of the car. My driver will take you home. Your life continues as normal, except for the knowledge that you're being watched. Amara leaned forward. I have conditions. For the first time, genuine surprise flickered across his face. No minors involved in criminal activities. I don't assist with torture. I decide who lives and dies based on medical necessity, not your preference. She held his gaze. I treat or I walk. No matter who's bleeding. Jae-hoon considered her for a long moment. Agreed, he said finally. Too easily, Amara thought. Nothing in this world came without strings. The night clinic, Jae-hoon said as she stepped out of the car. 3 blocks east, you start tonight. Rain soaked through Amara's scrubs as she followed him through a side entrance that looked like it hadn't been used in years. Inside, however, the air was clean, temperature controlled. The corridor opened into a space that could have been transplanted from any legitimate medical facility, reception area, exam rooms, even a small surgical suite visible through half-closed blinds. A woman in her 60s appeared, her silver hair pulled back in a severe bun. She wore a lab coat with no name tag. Dr. Yoon, Jae-hoon said by way of introduction. She was one of Port Serene's finest surgeons before circumstances changed. Dr. Yoon's eyes were sharp, assessing. You brought me a nurse, she said in accented English. I brought you help, Jae-hoon corrected. I don't need help. Tonight, you will. The certainty in his voice sent a chill down Amara's spine. As if on cue, the exterior door burst open. 2 men staggered in, supporting a third between them, blood soaking through improvised bandages. Boss, one began, voice tight with panic. Get him in the surgical suite, Jae-hoon ordered. All business now. Dr. Yoon... But the surgeon was already moving, barking orders at the men. Amara found herself following automatically, years of trauma training taking over. The wounded man was laid on the operating table. Asian, early 30s, with a gunshot wound to the abdomen. Lee Do-yoon, Jae-hoon said from the doorway. My lieutenant. Dr. Yoon cut away the blood-soaked shirt. Perforated bowel, possible arterial damage. He needs a hospital. Not an option, Jae-hoon replied flatly. Then he needs a miracle. Dr. Yoon's eyes found Amara. Scrub in, now. For 3 heartbeats, Amara hesitated. This was her line, the one she'd promised herself she'd never cross. Treating criminals off the record, hiding evidence, becoming complicit. The wounded man's eyes fluttered open, finding hers. Please, he whispered. Amara moved to the sink and began to scrub. 4 hours later, Lee Do-yoon was stabilized. Amara's hands were steady as she placed the final sutures. But her mind raced. Every action she'd taken had violated her oath, her ethics, her sense of right and wrong. And yet, she couldn't deny the rush of saving a life, regardless of who it belonged to. Dr. Owen disposed of the bloody gauze in a specialized container. You have good hands, she said, the first words she'd spoken directly to Amara since the surgery began. Thank you, Amara replied, unsure what else to say. He won't thank you, Dr. Yoon continued, nodding toward the door where Jae-hoon had stood watching. Men like him don't know how. What happened to him? Amara asked, curiosity finally overriding caution. To make him whatever he is. Dr. Yoon's expression hardened. The same thing that happens to all of us. Life disappointed him, and he decided to disappoint it back. Before Amara could respond, alarms blared throughout the clinic. Red lights flashed along the ceiling. Dr. Yoon moved with surprising speed, securing cabinets and locking the surgical suite door. What's happening? Amara demanded. Beck Syndicate, Dr. Yoon replied tersely. Rival family. They've been trying to take Black Glass for years. The sound of gunfire echoed down the corridor. Shouting in Korean followed, then a crash. Amara instinctively moved to protect her unconscious patient, placing herself between the door and Lee Do-yoon. The door burst open. Jae-hoon staggered in, one hand pressed to his side, blood seeping between his fingers. Two of his men followed, weapons drawn. Lock down, he ordered, voice tight with pain. Full protocol. As his men secured the room, Jae-hoon's knees buckled. Amara caught him before he hit the floor, lowering him onto the second surgical table. Gunshot? She asked, already cutting away his shirt. Knife, he managed. Lower ribs. The wound was deep, angled upward. The blade had missed his heart by centimeters. Blood flowed freely, too freely. He's going into shock, Amara called to Dr. Yoon, who was already preparing surgical trays. You take him, the older woman said. I'll monitor Do-yoon. If you're enjoying this intense story, now's the perfect time to hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to like and leave a comment telling us what you think will happen next. Your engagement helps our channel grow, and we've got plenty more gripping stories coming your way. Now back to our tale. With gloved hands deep in Jae-hoon's abdomen, Amara fought to control the bleeding. His blood pressure dropped dangerously, then stabilized. His breathing grew ragged, then smooth. Twice she thought she was losing him. Twice she pulled him back. The blade was poisoned, Dr. Yoon observed, examining a sample under a microscope. Pancuronium derivative, designed to paralyze the respiratory system. Counteragent? Amara asked, her focus never leaving the wound she was repairing. Neostigmine, top cabinet, blue vial. As Dr. Yoon administered the antidote, Jae-hoon's eyes fluttered open. He looked directly at Amara, gaze clear despite the pain and drugs. You stayed, he whispered. Don't talk, she ordered, clamping another bleeder. But he continued, voice fading in and out as the sedatives took effect. I never wanted this life, he murmured, building an empire of blood, just to survive another day. Save your strength, Amara said, uncomfortable with these fragments of vulnerability. My father said, power or death, no middle ground. His eyes drifted closed. Sometimes I wonder if he was right. When Jae-hoon finally stabilized, Amara stepped back, stripping off her bloody gloves. Her scrubs were soaked with sweat and blood. Her legs trembled with exhaustion. Outside, dawn was breaking over Port Serene, gray light filtering through reinforced windows. The attack? She asked Dr. Yoon. Repelled, the older woman replied, checking Do-yoon's vitals. For now. For now, Amara echoed. She moved to the small bathroom adjacent to the surgical suite, splashing cold water on her face. In the mirror, a stranger looked back at her. Same features, same eyes, but fundamentally changed. She had crossed her line. There was no going back. When she returned, Jae-hoon was awake again, trying to sit up despite Dr. Yoon's protests. Stay down, Amara ordered, her nurse voice taking over. Or you'll tear those sutures, and I'll have to redo them without anesthesia. Surprisingly, he complied, settling back onto the table. Did you save Do-yoon? We both did, Amara answered, checking his pulse. He'll need weeks to recover. We don't have weeks, Jae-hoon muttered. Then to Dr. Yoon, send for Kim. Tell him to implement Protocol 7. The older woman nodded and left the room. Alone with Jae-hoon, Amara finally asked the question that had been burning in her mind. Why me? There must be dozens of medical professionals you could blackmail or bribe. Jae-hoon studied her for a long moment. When I was 19, I was shot for the first time. A nurse saved my life. Not the surgeon, not the doctor. She noticed the hemorrhage no one else saw. He shifted slightly, wincing. She had your eyes. The same. How intensity? That's not an answer. Isn't it? His gaze never wavered. I choose carefully, Amara Kessington. People, allies, enemies. You were not random. You've been watching me, she realized. For 6 months, he confirmed, since you refused to let that gang member die in the ER, despite the police officers telling you to prioritize their wounded colleague. Amara remembered that night. The chaos, the blood, the split-second decision that had nearly cost her job. You saved both, Jae-hoon continued. The officer and the gang member, That's when I knew you were what my organization needs. A trauma nurse with questionable judgment? The ghost of a smile touched his lips. A healer who doesn't choose sides. Before she could respond, the door opened. One of Jae-hoon's men entered, speaking rapidly in Korean. So Jae-hoon's expression hardened as he replied, his voice carrying an authority that seemed impossible from a man lying wounded on a surgical table. When the man left, Jae-hoon turned back to Amara. The Bake Syndicate will regroup. They'll come again, harder next time. That's your problem, Amara said, checking his bandages. I'm just the nurse. No, Jae-hoon contradicted her softly. You're now a target too. Everyone in this building is. The reality of her situation settled over Amara like a shroud. In one night, she had become part of something she didn't understand, something dark and dangerous that threatened to swallow her whole. I want out, she said suddenly. This wasn't the deal. Jae-hoon's expression didn't change. There is no out, not anymore. There's always an out, Amara countered, anger rising. Sue, you said I had a choice. I'm choosing to walk away. And go where? He asked, his voice dropping to a whisper. Home? They know where you live now. The hospital? They have people there too. Your brother's apartment? That would be a death sentence for him. The cold calculation in his voice made Amara step back. You planned this, she accused, getting me involved in an attack, making me complicit, ensuring I couldn't leave. Jae-hoon didn't deny it. I secured an asset, he said simply. I'm not an asset. I'm a person. Amara's hands curled into fists. And you've just ensured I'll never trust a word you say. For the first time, something like regret flickered across his face. Trust is a luxury in my world. Then your world is broken? Yes, he agreed, surprising her. It is. 3 days later, Amara returned to her apartment for the first time since that rainy night. 2 of Jae-hoon's men escorted her, checking each room before leaving her alone. Her phone had been replaced with a new one, secure, they'd said. Her hospital shifts had been rearranged through administrative channels she didn't want to think about. Everything looked the same, her books, her plants, the framed photo of Elijah at his college graduation. But nothing felt the same. The world had shifted beneath her feet, and she was still struggling to find her balance. Her new phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Clinic, 10 p.m. Car waiting downstairs. Amara stared at the message, tempted to ignore it, to pretend none of this was happening. But the memory of Jae-hoon's words echoed in her mind. They know where you live now. At precisely 10 p.m., she stepped into the black sedan, waiting outside her building. The driver was different, but the car was the same, the one she'd mistakenly entered 3 nights ago. The night clinic was quiet when she arrived. Dr. Yoon greeted her with a curt nod, leading her to a small office where Jae-hoon sat behind a desk, his posture betraying the pain he must still be feeling. You came, he observed. Not for you, Amara replied. For myself. For my brother. For the patients who might need actual medical care, not just patch-ups for your soldiers. Jae-hoon gestured to the chair across from him. When Amara remained standing, he sighed. I owe you an explanation. You owe me more than that. Yes, he agreed. I do. What followed was a clinical breakdown of his situation. The Bake Syndicate's increasing aggression, the territory disputes, see the shifting alliances among Port Serene's criminal hierarchy. He spoke of these things as if discussing weather patterns or stock fluctuations. My empire, he concluded, is under siege from all sides. And that justifies dragging innocent people into your war? Amara challenged. No, Jae-hoon admitted. Nothing justifies that, but necessity rarely concerns itself with justification. What do you want from me? Amara asked, exhaustion seeping into her voice. Really want, beyond patching up your wounded. Jae-hoon was silent for a long moment, studying her with those impenetrable eyes. Perspective, he said finally. Everyone in my world wants something from me. Power, money, favor, fear. You want none of these things. I want to be left alone, Amara countered. No, Jae-hoon said softly. You don't. You want to matter. To make a difference. It's why you became a nurse instead of a doctor. Immediate impact rather than prestige. The accuracy of his assessment unsettled her. You don't know me. I know enough. He leaned forward, wincing slightly. The night clinic serves more than just my organization. It serves anyone who can't risk traditional medical care. Undocumented immigrants, abuse victims afraid of being found, people who would otherwise fall through the cracks. You expect me to believe you run this place out of the goodness of your heart? Amara asked skeptically. I expect you to recognize opportunity when you see it, Jae-hoon replied. Yes, you'll treat my people, but you'll also treat others who need you more. Isn't that worth the compromise? Before she could respond, the door opened. Lee Do-yoon entered, moving carefully but steadily for someone who'd been at death's door 3 days ago. Boss, he said, nodding to Jae-hoon. Then, to Amara's surprise, he bowed slightly in her direction. Thank you, he said simply, for my life. After he left, Amara found herself at a crossroads. Everything in her training, her ethics, her moral code told her to walk away. But something else, something deeper and more complicated, told her to stay. I have new conditions, she said finally. Jae-hoon raised an eyebrow. I'm listening. Complete transparency about who comes through those doors. No more surprises. She met his gaze steadily. And I want to know your exit strategy. Exit strategy? No one builds an empire just to die defending it, Amara said. You have a way out? I want to know what it is. For the first time since she'd met him, Jae-hoon looked genuinely surprised. Then, slowly, a real smile spread across his face. Not the calculated expression she'd seen before, but something warmer, almost human. You continue to surprise me, Amara Kessington. Is that a yes? He considered her for a long moment. Transparency, yes. As for an exit, he sighed. Some roads have no exit. Then build one, Amara said simply. The weeks that followed established a strange new rhythm to Amara's life. By day, she worked her regular shifts at Port Sarin General, treating car accidents and heart attacks and all the normal emergencies of a city hospital. 3 nights a week, she slipped into a black sedan and entered a different world entirely. The night clinic saw a steady stream of patients, some from Jae-hoon's organization, others from the community Amara hadn't known existed. Undocumented workers with workplace injuries. Women with bruises they couldn't explain at regular hospitals. Children with fevers whose parents feared deportation. And sometimes, men with bullet wounds and knife cuts who spoke in whispers and watched the shadows. Jae-hoon himself was rarely there, but his presence permeated the place, in the state-of-the-art equipment that appeared overnight, in the pharmaceutical supplies that never ran low, in the armed men who maintained a respectful distance but never left. Dr. Yoon gradually warmed to Amara, sharing her knowledge of field surgery and trauma techniques not taught in any medical school. I was chief of surgery, she revealed one quiet night, until my daughter married the wrong man, a Bayek. When she tried to leave him, he hurt her. I killed him. She said this without emotion, as if discussing a routine procedure. Jae-hoon provided sanctuary when no one else would. These glimpses into the complex web of loyalty, debt, and protection surrounding Jae-hoon both fascinated and disturbed Amara. He was, she realized, both better and worse than she'd initially judged. A man capable of extraordinary cruelty and unexpected kindness in equal measure. On the rare occasions when their paths crossed at the clinic, Amara found herself studying him when he wasn't looking. The careful way he moved, the tension he carried in his shoulders, the moments when exhaustion broke through his carefully constructed facade. You never sleep, do you? She asked him once, finding him reviewing security footage at 3 a.m. Sleep is a vulnerability I can't afford, he replied without looking up. It's also a necessity you can't ignore, Amara countered, placing a cup of tea beside him. Even monsters need rest. At that, he looked up, something unreadable flickering in his eyes. Is that what you think I am? A monster? I think you're someone who's forgotten there are other options, Amara said carefully. Jae-hoon's lips quirked in what might have been a smile. And you're here to remind me? I'm here to do my job, Amara replied. The rest is up to you. The attack came on a night when Amara wasn't scheduled at the clinic. Her phone buzzed at 2 a.m. with a text from Dr. Yoon. Multiple casualties. Need you now. The black sedan was already waiting when she reached the street. The driver took corners too fast, running red lights as they raced toward Black Glass District. The night clinic was in chaos when she arrived. Wounded men on every available surface. Dr. Yoon working frantically on one while shouting orders in Korean. The air smelled of blood and gunpowder. What happened? Amara demanded, pulling on gloves. Beck ambush, Dr. Yoon replied tersely. They had inside information, knew exactly where our people would be. Jae-hoon? Missing, Dr. Yoon said, her hands never stopping their work. Doyen is organizing search teams. For 6 hours, Amara worked without stopping, stabilizing, suturing, triaging. One man died under her hands, his injuries too severe for their limited resources. 2 others would need specialized care beyond what the clinic could provide. When the last patient was stabilized, Amara found herself standing in the empty surgical suite, staring at blood-spattered walls. Her hands trembled slightly, not from fear, but from a curious, burning anger she hadn't expected to feel. The door opened. Lee Doyen entered, his face grim. "We found him," he said without preamble. "Alive?" Amara asked, already reaching for fresh supplies. "Barely," Doyen replied. "Beck's people had him for 4 hours before we tracked them down." When they brought Jae-hoon in, Amara almost didn't recognize him. His face was swollen, one eye completely closed. Burns marked his chest and arms, 2 fingers on his left hand bent at unnatural angles. "Torture," Dr. Yoon said quietly, as they cut away what remained of his clothes. "They wanted information." "Did they get it?" Amara asked, establishing an IV line with practiced efficiency. "No," Doyen said from the doorway, his voice hard with a mixture of pride and fear. "He would die first." "He still might," Dr. Yoon observed, examining a particularly deep wound on Jae-hoon's abdomen. For the next 3 hours, they worked to save him, setting broken bones, suturing lacerations, treating burns, monitoring for internal bleeding. Through it all, Jae-hoon remained unconscious, his breathing shallow but steady. "He's strong," Dr. Yoon said as they finished. "Stronger than most." Amara nodded, too exhausted for words. She pulled a chair next to Jae-hoon's bed, checking his vitals one final time. "You should rest," Dr. Yoon advised. "I'll watch him." "I'll stay," Amara replied. When Dr. Yoon raised an eyebrow, she added, "He's still critical. Someone with trauma training should monitor him." "Doctor?" Yoon's expression suggested she didn't believe this clinical explanation, but she didn't argue. "I'll be next door if you need me." Alone with Jae-hoon, Amara found herself studying his damaged face. Even in unconsciousness, a certain tension remained, as if some part of him was always on guard, always fighting. What kind of life created such permanent vigilance? What would it take to release it, even for a moment? Without thinking, she reached out, her fingers barely touching his uninjured hand. "You don't have to fight right now," she whispered. "Just rest." To her surprise, his fingers twitched, curling weakly around hers. His eyes remained closed, but something in his expression eased slightly. Amara told herself it was just an autonomic response. Nothing more. But she didn't let go of his hand. Dawn broke over Port Serene, painting the reinforced windows with pale gold light. Jae-hoon's condition had stabilized through the night, his vital signs improving steadily. Amara had dozed off in the chair beside him, her hand still loosely entwined with his. She woke to the sensation of being watched. Jae-hoon's eyes, or rather, the one that wasn't swollen shut, was open, observing her with an unreadable expression. "You're still here," he said, his voice a raw whisper. Amara quickly withdrew her hand, straightening in her chair. "Someone needed to monitor you," she replied, professional mask slipping back into place. "How's the pain?" "Manageable," he lied, the tension in his jaw betraying him. "I'll increase your morphine," Amara said, reaching for the IV control. "No," Jae-hoon stopped her, his damaged hand moving surprisingly fast. "I need clarity." "You need rest," Amara countered. "The Beck syndicate has been driven back. Your people are secure. Whatever decisions need to be made can wait." "They tortured me for information about you," he said quietly. Amara froze. "What?" "The clinic, our medical supply chains. They want to cut off my ability to treat my people." His eye held hers. "But they specifically asked about the new nurse. They know who you are, Amara." Cold fear washed over her. "My brother is safe," Jae-hoon assured her. "I doubled his protection 2 weeks ago. They won't get near him." Relief mingled with a new understanding. "You knew this might happen." "I've known it was inevitable since the night you stepped into my car," he admitted. Anger flared. "And you still pulled me into this?" "Yes." No excuses, no justifications. Just simple acknowledgement. Amara stood, needing distance. "I should check your dressings," she said, professionalism her only refuge from the storm of emotions threatening to overwhelm her. As she worked, Jae-hoon watched her, his gaze intense despite his injuries. I didn't give them anything, he said finally. Not about the clinic, not about you. Why? Amara asked, the question escaping before she could stop it. Because some lines can't be crossed, he replied. Not even by someone like me. The simplicity of his answer caught her off guard. And what kind of person are you exactly? Jaehoon was silent for a long moment. Someone who's forgotten how to be anything else, he said finally. Until recently. What changed? Amara asked, though some part of her already knew the answer. You got into the wrong car, he said, the ghost of a smile touching his battered lips. 2 weeks passed. Jaehoon recovered with the determined focus he brought to everything, pushing his body to heal faster than seemed possible, refusing painkillers once he could function without them, resuming control of his organization from the small office adjacent to the clinic. Amara maintained her professional distance, treating his wounds with clinical efficiency, ignoring the way his eyes followed her when she moved around the room. But something had shifted between them. A door opened that neither seemed able to close. The Baek Syndicate has gone underground, Jaehoon told her one evening as she changed his bandages. My sources say they're regrouping, planning something bigger. That's your world, not mine, Amara replied, though they both knew the line between their worlds had blurred beyond recognition. It will affect the clinic, Jaehoon continued. We need to prepare. For what? Another attack? More casualties? Amara's hands stilled. How does this end, Jaehoon? More violence, more injuries, more deaths? That's how it's always been, he said simply. It doesn't have to be, Amara countered, surprising herself with the intensity of her conviction. You could change it. How? There was no mockery in his question, only genuine curiosity. Your exit strategy, Amara reminded him. You never told me what it is. Jaehoon studied her for a long moment. Because I don't have one, he admitted. No one leaves this life, Amara. Not alive. Then make one, she insisted. You built all of this. So you can build something different? Something flickered in his eyes. Not hope exactly, but perhaps the shadow of it. Why do you care what becomes of me? Amara looked away, unable to answer a question she hadn't fully resolved in her own mind. That night, as Amara prepared to leave the clinic, she found Jaehoon waiting by the exit, standing without assistance for the first time since his injuries. I'll walk you to the car, he said, his tone making it clear this wasn't a request. Is that wise? She asked, eyeing his still healing wounds. Probably not, he admitted, but wisdom has never been my strong suit. They walked in silence through the empty corridor, their footsteps echoing off sterile walls. At the door, Jaehoon paused. I've been thinking about what you said, he began, about an exit strategy. Amara waited, sensing there was more. I have accounts, he continued, overseas, identities that can't be traced, enough to disappear and start over somewhere far from here. Then why haven't you? Jaehoon's expression shifted, vulnerability bleeding through his careful control. Because I've never had a reason that outweighed my responsibilities here. The implication hung in the air between them, unspoken but unmistakable. Jaehoon, Amara began, not sure what she intended to say. Don't, he interrupted gently. Not yet. Just think about it. About what? About whether some risks are worth taking, he said, for both of us. Before she could respond, the door behind them burst open. Doyen appeared, his expression grim. Boss, we have a situation, he said in rapid Korean. The Baek family, they're moving tonight. Jaehoon's demeanor changed instantly, all vulnerability vanishing behind the mask of authority. He issued orders in Korean, his voice calm but commanding. When he turned back to Amara, his eyes had hardened. Go home, he said. Stay there until I contact you. What's happening? She demanded. War, he answered simply. Go, Amara, please. Something in his voice, a note of genuine fear she'd never heard before, made her comply. The black sedan took her home through eerily empty streets. Her apartment felt suddenly foreign, like a stage set rather than a home. Sleep eluded her. At 3 a.m., her phone buzzed with a text. Are you safe? Yes, she replied. Are you? The response came minutes later. For now, stay inside. Mo, lock your doors. Morning brought news reports of gang violence in Black Glass District. Multiple buildings burned, gunfire reported, Casualties unknown. Amara tried calling the secure number Jae-hoon had given her. No answer. By evening, her worry had transformed into something else, a certainty that she needed to act rather than wait. Against all logic and self-preservation, she called a taxi to take her to the night clinic. The driver refused to enter Black Glass District. "Not safe tonight, miss," he said, dropping her several blocks away. Amara walked the rest, the streets unnervingly quiet. Smoke lingered in the air. Twice she ducked into doorways as cars with tinted windows sped past. The night clinic's entrance was locked, the windows dark. Amara tried the security code Jae-hoon had given her. Nothing. So she moved to the service entrance at the back, trying another code. The door clicked open. Inside, the clinic was dark and silent. Medical supplies lay scattered across the floor, cabinets hanging open. Signs of a hasty evacuation, not a violent intrusion. "Hello?" Amara called softly, moving cautiously through the shadows. "Dr. Yoon? Anyone?" A noise from the office made her freeze. Gathering her courage, she pushed the door open. Jae-hoon sat behind the desk, his head in his hands. When he looked up, his expression transformed from exhaustion to shock to fury in the space of a heartbeat. "What are you doing here?" he demanded, rising to his feet. "I told you to stay home." "You didn't answer your phone," Amara said simply. "So you walked into a war zone?" Incredulity colored his voice. "Do you have any idea what the Bayek family would do if they found you here?" "Probably the same thing they'd do to you," Amara countered. "Where is everyone? Dr. Yoon, the patients?" "Secondary location," Jae-hoon said, moving around the desk. "I stayed to destroy the records, erase any trace of who we treated here. And then what? Then I disappear," he said. "For a while at least. Until this blows over, or—" He didn't finish the thought. "Take me with you," Amara said suddenly. Jae-hoon stared at her, genuine surprise breaking through his exhaustion. "What? You heard me. Do you have any idea what you're asking?" he challenged. "What it would mean to disappear with someone like me?" "I know exactly what it means," Amara replied steadily. "It means choosing a path that terrifies me. It means trusting someone who's given me every reason not to. It means believing that people can change, even people who've forgotten how." Jae-hoon moved closer, studying her face as if searching for doubt, for hesitation. "Why?" he asked simply. "Because somewhere between saving your life and you refusing to betray mine, I started seeing the person beneath the monster," Amara admitted, "and that person is worth fighting for." For a moment, Jae-hoon's carefully constructed walls crumbled completely. Raw emotion washed across his face. Hope, fear, disbelief, and something deeper that neither of them was ready to name. "Amara," he said, her name almost a prayer on his lips. "I can't promise you safety. I can't promise you a normal life." "I'm not asking for promises," she replied. "Just truth." He reached out, his hand hovering near her face without quite touching. "The truth is, I've spent my entire life building walls to keep people out. Then you walked through one by mistake, and I've been trying to rebuild ever since." "Stop rebuilding," Amara whispered. "Let me in." The sound of vehicles outside shattered the moment. Jae-hoon's head snapped toward the window, body instantly alert. "We need to go," he said, all business again. "Now." He moved to a painting on the wall, revealing a hidden safe. From it, he removed a small bag and what appeared to be passports. "There's a car in the underground garage," he said, handing her one of the passports. "Different plates, different driver. If we separate—" "We won't," Amara interrupted. Jae-hoon nodded, accepting her decision. "Stay close to me. Do exactly as I say." They moved through darkened corridors, down a stairwell Amara hadn't known existed, into a garage that housed a single, nondescript sedan. Different from the black cars she'd grown accustomed to, this one designed to blend in rather than intimidate. As they prepared to leave, Jae-hoon paused, looking at her one final time. "Last chance," he said quietly. "You can still walk away, return to your life." Amara met his gaze steadily. "If you stay," she replied, "you won't be safe." "Neither will you," he countered. "I know," Amara said, taking his hand. "That's why we go together." Dawn broke over Port Serene as they drove out of the city, the rising sun painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Neither spoke, the weight of their choices settling around them like a mantle. Finally, as the city disappeared behind them, Jae-hoon reached across the center console, his hand finding Amara's. I don't know how this ends, he admitted. Neither do I, she replied, her fingers intertwining with his. But for the first time in a very long time, I'm curious to find out. Thank you for joining us for this thrilling journey of danger, moral choices, and unexpected connection. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more captivating tales like this one. Hit that like button and share your thoughts in the comments below. What do you think will happen to Amara and Jae-hoon? Will they find safety, or will their past catch up with them? Your support helps us bring more stories to life. Until next time, remember that sometimes the wrong turn can lead to the right destination.